of Ian Currier, the former director of, he's the current chief executive of Nottingham City Council, and Anthony May, who's the head of the county council. Now they both blatantly lied from the very beginnings. Now Andy, the other Andy here, yes, will tell you that from the very beginnings, I was told there was no records of me, right? On the freedom of information or subject access request. Now, I always knew that they were lying. They told me that they were going to be in a process of either destroying my files or hiding them in a company of firm of solicitors called Brown Jacobson in Nottingham. I reported this to Nottinghamshire Police, right? Nottinghamshire Police weren't interested. They have a thing called the strategic partnership. And this strategic partnership, they've used it to violate survivors of child sex abuse in Nottingham to the point where what they were doing in the very beginnings, until we put a block on it, they were using current safeguarding laws on adults as if we were children, and we put a stop to that. But over and beyond that, we have the constant thing of records not being available. Now, mine isn't just a one-off case, right? This is common across the board. Over the time that I've been back in the UK, but I've also spoken to several solicitors' offices in Nottingham, including my own, and they're all experiencing the very same problems that I am. Now, Ian Currier and Anthony May, in the very beginnings, said the only thing that's available is a screenshot of the Risley Hall approved school admissions and discharge profile that they still retain, and page 48 of the Beechwood Children's Home Register. Now, they have all the registers for all the children's homes, but they withhold them. But apparently the Beechwood one is open to scrutiny. Well, page 48, as I told Andrew here a fair while ago, is outside of the timeline of when I was abused, molested, raped, and I carried on pursuing it. Now, we've come into the realms of me trying to identify my child rapist. Now, my child rapist, when I was in care, he was the deputy head of the social services, and it was a man that people had to fear. He ruled the social services, as it's called now, but it was called the children's department back then, with a bit of an iron rod, and he was totally feared. I knew it was Mr. Smith back then, but as I went into the care system, he was referred to as Uncle John, so one would assume that his name was John Smith. Well, we all know that paedophiles will do their best to hide their identity, and a lot of my stuff is actually identified at a paedophile ring at the core of anything to do with children's services in Nottingham. And after I returned, we had a banner outing them, by some of the paedophiles in my case, by name. Now, we were told by the council and by the police that if I did that, they'd take me to court and sue me for libel. Well, my attitude was crack on. But what came out of that was the fact that we had different people come up to us and say, which John Smith is this? I explained because they were thinking that it was a John Smith that ran a children's home in Nottingham. And I explained that no, he was the deputy head of the social services. They told me his real name. Now, I didn't take that for granted. I went into this place, the Nottinghamshire Archives, and finding juvenile court register records, I found it, Alan Smith. I notified Nottinghamshire Police, because the City Council and the County Council, they both denied the man existed. There'd never been a Mr. Smith in that job. I told the police, and I also let rip at Nottingham City Council, and they changed their stance from saying that they have no Mr. Smith, was proved its existence, that we have no records beyond 1974, which is a common factor that your colleague Andy here was well aware of when I came back up to this very office. It's a loophole that they've created because they handed over the running of the social services to the county council, and the county council ran the social services for both the city and the county till '98. Now they claim that my records were destroyed in 1978. Now that they've previously given a screenshot of a computer screen. Now that screenshot, if looked at, and I can put it up on my phone, I've got it anyway, but it says amend file. It's got my KPF number, known person's file number, and at the bottom it says file destroyed. Now the person that me and Andy met previously here used to work for Lancashire Council in social services records, and I explained the protocols of what had to happen back in the day. Back in the day, in order to destroy childcare records, that they had a register that they quite often refer to as a logbook. Now, in order for them files to be destroyed, that each file that's been destroyed would be registered in this logbook, and it would be put in by whoever's putting the information in. It would be whoever the person that was ordering it to be put in that into that logbook, and the person that destroyed it. Now, that information, right, from the logbooks would be put onto microfiche, right, and then all that information, but when they went from computerised records to from microfiche into the computerised era, right, all that information would still be there. It's not there, but notwithstanding that, we have a further issue that arises from that screenshot, because that screenshot has dates on it, 1989 and 2004. Now, I need you to bear in mind that for them to have a record, that must indicate that I've lived there. Well, I have not lived in Nottinghamshire since 1971, right? So we need to know how they've got a file on Michael Summers that's got a date of 1989 to 2004. I can tell you, I have the answers, but I want you to come back with the answers on why they've got a file on me, because inside that timeline, and it would be at the back end of that timeline, data of mine has been destroyed. The data concerns telephone calls that I made in 2003 after a failed investigation by the Nottinghamshire Police. I phone them on a regular basis. Now, when a telephone call of child sexual abuse is made, there's a law since 1989 when the Children's Act came in that these calls have to be recorded and logged. Now, I went back to Ian Currier, the CEO of Nottingham City Council, who at the beginnings of me coming into this big inquiry, he was the head of social services, who's now the chief executive. He's adamant that there've never ever been any records whatsoever. Now, I went through what we call a chronology as his request. I've since found out through a whistleblower that what they were doing is they were wanting to know how good my memory was. I went through that chronology of my timeline, of my childhood, at great length, and when I did eventually get this paperwork, do you know what? It more or less stayed perfect. You see, what really hacks me off at the moment on a personal level is the fact that I proved who this man is. He's still alive, so we have a child rapist, right, that's still got his liberty 50 years on. But because I didn't have this timeline, which would back up what I was saying to the police in evidence. And the fact that I've met a mental block I can't describe him, and the fact that they've, alongside multiple requests from myself, asked them to put a photo ID together. They haven't. But had I had all this information, I may have had a chance of getting justice. As things stand, there's documentation in there that says that the CPS won't prosecute. Now, we had a meeting with the CPS.
Yeah.
The CPS attitude is, even if I identify him today, they won't charge him. Why? Because they've got a strategic partnership of between the city and county councils and the police. And we now say that it extends to the Crown Prosecution Service. My rapist, Alan Smith, who was the eventual Regional Director for Social Services, we don't believe it ends there, because we've had stuff that indicates a prominent MP called Ken Clark. We took that information to Nottinghamshire Police. They did nothing. But we're now in the realms of what Mickey Summers has done since he come back. I put a group together called the Nottingham CSA Action Group, it was called in the beginning. It's now known as Nottingham CSA Survivors Group. And we were fighting for a public inquiry in the end. We've got a little bit more than that. We had direct contact with the IICSA. A retired Army Colonel that I brought in, David Hollis, MBE, he got direct contact with Lowell Goddard when she was actually running the inquiry, and we've now made Nottingham a case study. Now, bearing in mind that both councils are still reluctant to release records because it hides their paedophiles, I need you to look at everything that they did on the run-up to my last coming to this building. Every request that was made for them to give answers, it took about, I think was it 3 or 4 times before we ever got an answer. They blatantly, excuse my language, they extract the urine. I'm not going to...
Okay.
Basically, like they regularly commit malfeasance in public office. Blatantly they lie. Well, from that point of view, these records, as you can see, they came from the Nottinghamshire Archives. Now, they told Andy and Suzanne, I can't remember Suzanne's surname, that they searched over and beyond for any records of me, including a timeline of... now, I've had several subject access requests that I've done this year. Now, Nottinghamshire County Council still failed to comply with the terms of that subject access request, other than giving me these documents. Now, it wouldn't come as a surprise that my case, because I had a 2003 re-investigation via the IPCC, right, that concluded, and it was riddled with corruption all the way through, and that's fine by me, because at the end of the day, I'm about accountability, and we can prove things a little bit beyond. My case with the CPS saying to me that they weren't going to prosecute, that wrapped up, and it all wrapped up in the space of a few days. Now, bit of a coincidence, would you say? No, there's no coincidence in Nottingham, right? They're all in it together. As for my timeline, well, let's start with the first thing that they had denials of. The first thing they said was that I would never ever have been sent to a remand home in Somerset, to which Somerset County Council don't hold a record. Now they still got records of Brooklands remand home, where I was sent. Mickey Summers didn't exist, but there's a juvenile court register, copy of the actual register, sending me there. You see, and it was on that journey from that court that I got raped by the regional director, Alan Smith. A man who doesn't exist. But you see, we have photographic evidence that the man does exist, and I'll transfer it from my phone before we leave. Photocopies of court documents with his name on. In terms of all the chronology that I told you about, all the addresses I ever lived at, up until I left and joined the army, are all there. The timelines almost date perfect. There's also another issue outside of Nottingham, because after I came out of the approved school, I went to, after I actually won an appeal in the appeals court in Nottingham, I went to my maternal grandparents in Wakefield. Now Wakefield had a replica copy of my records. Now, I think it was last year, we went, myself and Sergeant Holden from West Yorkshire Police, and a chap by the name of Russell Burton, who's a personal friend of mine. We met with John Wilson at Wakefield Council's offices at Wakefield 1, which is where their head office is. And I don't exist, just the same as I don't exist anywhere else. Now, inside here, we have not only
when you say you don't exist, so I was going to just ask you, are you saying that no records exist?
Yes.
That's what you mean?
Yeah. There's not even a reference to a KPF file, which there should be. Now, what I want you to do, right, if your secretary here can go out and photocopy all of these, right, is I want to know that now that we've proved over and beyond the fact that Nottingham Council and Wakefield Council have lied over the record situation, what the ICO is going to do about it, because at the end of the day, right, on a personal level, fighting for my personal justice, my mental health has took me from having PTSD. I came into this as a recovering drug addict 14 years ago. Someone who's lived with post-traumatic stress disorder all my life. I came into this looking for justice for myself and saw the bigger picture, and I went with the bigger picture. But on a personal level, I've gone from having PTSD to complex chronic PTSD. As a consequence of finding records, the first time I had a major angina attack and I was hospitalised at QMC in Nottingham. In terms of stuff connected to what I bring to the table today, I went back to my house in Nottingham Christmas Eve to find some paperwork that was sent from the council, making threats to take my property because I'm still exposing them. I ended up having another heart attack Christmas morning. You know, so are these consequences that someone should have to endure just to get to the truth? Your colleague Andy here was quite perturbed that, or disturbed, I don't know, that we were constantly hitting brick walls. We know that they've lied. Andy said there's a few things that were amiss. So basically, I want to know what you're going to do for me and what you're going to do for the survivors in Nottingham.
Can I just come in there, Mickey?
But I also need to paint the bigger picture here. Now, this is not just happening in Nottingham or Wakefield, right? This is happening nationwide. Now, Daniel's a very good friend of mine, and at this point, I'd like to bring Daniel in so you can get a grasp of the bigger picture.
Yeah, so my name's Daniel Wollstonecroft. So I've got like sort of two roles. So I'm director and founder of Shatter Boys UK. So the main aim of Shatter Boys UK is to set up support throughout the UK for 18+ males who've been sexually abused in childhood. The support with free at point access and sort of build a network throughout the UK, which involves like survivor-led support. So I've got started that last February, so I'm on 95 men now who I'm supporting, and the like sort of team around me, spread throughout like UK, but the majority of them are in the northwest together, basically, and get this raft of information together and bring it to like sort of people like yourselves who are in the role and in the job instead, because you want to do something about it, and you know you want things to be like sort of fair and just. So that's kind of like sort of my role. So my other role is I'm a member of the Victim Survivors Consulting Panel to National Inquiry into Child Abuse, but I'm not here in that capacity today. I'm here in my like Shatter Boys capacity. So we're all just like teaming up with all different networks to create this like sort of bigger picture and like sort of expose you know what's really been kind of going on. So that's why I'm here today, like sort of supporting Mickey and kind of learning from it, from what he's doing with this and how far he's kind of come, so I can get some answers for my lads as well.
But you know, we on a personal level, we have moved on. Whilst this has still been held back in the background, as we were actually awaiting the conclusion of the CPS looking at my stuff, the police, which we always knew from the very beginning it was going to be a cover-up. But I'd like you to look at sort of what we've achieved. Because, like, in terms of taking things forward, right? They actually thought, oh well, it'll be here for a couple of weeks and it'll be gone. Right? I've saved the pace for 3 years. What I've done, I've exposed the truth. And when I came into this, there was 29 victims or survivors, however you want to refer to them, right? The fact that I put my head above the parapet and did what I did, there's around 400 in Nottingham alone now. The national statistics, right, show there's over 2,800 cases currently being looked at. Nottingham holds over a quarter of those, so like you can get a picture of what we're looking at. And the majority of these cases, the actual criminality was done mostly by council employees in what I describe as a paedophile ring at the core of children's services. Now, this is some of the work. This is what I can achieve on a personal level. Right? That's a multi-agency meeting that we had on Monday. The roll call from the meeting before. Now, we put all kinds of support packages together via National Health, Social Services. Right? We're about creating support for survivors, but you know what? Right? How can you support a survivor that's got no records? You know, and at the end of the day, I'm going to kind of wrap it up with this, that I might have had my day in court and look my rapist in the eye, whether it had been found not guilty or not, right? I'd have been able to look him in the eye and say, Joe, what? Years ago, after you raped me, in the back of your car, right, you told me you can tell who you like, but no one will ever believe you. Well, I've told the IICSA Truth Project. They believe me. I've told people like Daniel. I've gone public in the media because it's not my guilt, it's not my shame. Right? At the end of the day, right, I've got to do what I've got to do. And as of today, right, I've come back to you because we now have documentary proof that they lied to you. Right? So I want to know what you're going to do for us.
Okay. Well, I think the short answer to that is we'll have another look at anything that you want to give us and make some decisions about what we can and can't do really to help. Now, again, I've got absolute sympathy for your situation and everything that you do is laudable and absolutely right in your circumstances. I'm craggy. We're the Information Commissioner's Office. We're not the police.
No, we're
not the Child Business Inquiry or anything like that. But we are on the periphery and on the edge of that stuff. And you're right in terms of, do you know what? You have some rights under the Data Protection Act to ask for information that's held about you. And we will try our best to make sure that you get all of the information that is held.
Well, you've got there, right, the headed piece from Diana Bentley at Nottinghamshire County Council saying about the subject access request. Well, all she's given me is this file, right, that they say didn't exist, and the City Council said that it didn't exist. Now, that's evidence, right, because it's also evidence because there's correspondence there from Wakefield, and Wakefield say that I don't exist. I was actually in dialogue last night with Sergeant Holden of West Yorkshire Police, and I have to ring him back today and give him an update of what's going on today, and I'll give him a transcript of what's going on today. There'll also be a transcript of this going to my constituency MP, Lillian Greenwood, the MP for Nottingham South, and you may well get a telephone call from David Green, her PA, and I actually consent for you to engage in dialogue with any of these people. David Green from my MP's office, or Sergeant Holden from West Yorkshire Police, or anyone from the West Yorkshire Police, because Sergeant Holden was of the opinion that something didn't sit right when we saw the head of social services in Wakefield, John Wilson. He said as much when we were leaving the building, that a policeman's nose for something that's not right is what he got from the meeting that we had, and we now place myself in Wakefield by the paperwork that your colleagues having photocopies done. I intend to go to my doctor's surgery once I get back to Nottingham, because I've never looked at it, but my medical records will place me in Wakefield too. But it's like everywhere that I've been. Now we're looking at Somerset County Council, we're looking at Nottinghamshire Council and the city, we're looking at County Durham, because I went to Aycliffe Assessment Centre for the approved schools before I went to Risley Hall. Risley Hall is in Derbyshire, right? So we have all these councils, and I don't exist. Now, if this was somewhere like Kosovo, right, back in the Balkans days, I've been ethnically cleansed. Do you think that's a coincidence? No, I mean, I'm asking you an open question. Like, you know, if two places like I don't exist, right? Well, Mickey, it could be a coincidence. Well, we're beyond coincidence. Do you think that all those councils, right, that hold no records, do you think it's a coincidence?
Well, again, that's not something that I can answer. I really can't. I know you would like me to give you an answer, but I really can't, because some of this stuff, again, we do have to have conversations with the organisations concerned, and they have to explain their actions and their rationale and their reasons, which we have tried to do, I think, with Nottingham already. And they have to explain that to us.
Well, as far as I'm concerned,
I just can't make. I mean, you know, again, I get what you would like from me. I can't really. I can only say to you that we're listening to what you say. We're going to look at the information that you provide to us. We'll have conversations with those relevant councils that you've made subject access requests, which you're entitled to under the Data Protection Act for. We will look at the responses, and we'll do what we can to try and get you any personal information that exists that you're entitled to.
Will that include you going into the offices of Brown Jacobson in Nottingham, right? Ideally with the National Crime Agency, right, and unlocking all those files that they're hiding. We know that all the files are in the solicitor's office. I've known, believe it or not, since July 2014, right, where all the documents were. You see, they told me Alan Smith didn't exist, but a whistleblower from within the council said his file is being held at Brown Jacobson's, right, in case the police come into the council, right, because they're still paying them a pension. But they told Andy, never had that Mr. Smith in that job. Well, even the Nottingham Crime Commissioner, Paddy Tipping, who was an ex-social worker, he told us he was his boss when he first came in. Then he became the regional director. You know, do you think a crime commissioner's going to lie for us?
Okay. That's not a question that I can answer. But I get why you're asking. What I am interested in is if you are saying here that someone has told you potentially that there is information held somewhere that the council haven't looked. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm telling you, right, what I've been told by a whistleblower, right, that they still hold files of mine.
And you've been given an indication roughly where those files might be?
Brown Jacobson Solicitors.
Okay. Have you approached that legal firm and made a request for information directly?
No, because I found them, myself and a guy that contemplated coming here today, Mark Salon. We phoned them a very long time ago when the whistleblower told us that anything that was incriminating against the councils was being held by Brown Jacobson Solicitors. Now, we found them, and they said if I need information that's council held, I need to go through them. So, like, you're playing ping pong all the time, and this is the game they play. The other game that they play is you go to the city council, they tell you, no, it's the county council. You go to the county council, and they tell you it's the city council. Now, what I will do...
I'm just trying to help.
Yeah.
Again, if you can ask them. They may not reply. They may say that it's maybe privilege. I don't know. Okay. But it's a conversation that you can have. Like I say, if you know that you may well have had the conversation on the telephone, but you can make a request in writing and ask whether they hold any information. And
we've done it on numerous occasions.
In writing.
Can I just clarify as well with the firm of solicitors? Is it your records that you think are held there, or is it records relating to this Mr. Smith?
Both.
Right. Okay.
In terms of Mr. Smith, though. I'm just going to put up a video that's on YouTube. It's from a news interview via RT Russia Today, and it will graphically outline what we're up against.
More than 500 people have signed a petition objecting to a decision by the Home Secretary, Theresa May, not to include any survivors of abuse in the government's child sex abuse inquiry panel. Campaigners describe the move as a dangerous step backwards that needs rectifying. The inquiry will examine how institutions across the UK fulfilled their duty of care to protect children from sexual abuse. RT's Issa Ali spoke to an alleged victim who says he was raped while in social care.
Yes, he is.
Michael Summers is now 61. He says he was sexually abused when he was a child. His suffering started when he was around 12 years old.
On one of the occasions I got summoned to the headmaster's office, he dragged me towards him, and all I had on was a pair of short grey trousers, and he yanked my trousers down and tried grabbing hold of my genitals. I literally tried running away and tripped, picked myself back up, and I legged it out of the school, and from that day I only ever went back to school on a few occasions.
His harrowing ordeal, he says, included abuse by a family friend, teachers and senior care workers during the 1960s.
The man who raped me was, in my time, the deputy head of social services.
Michael told me he has faced a systematic refusal by authorities to take his ordeal seriously, with calls not returned and documents apparently going missing. Support groups say this attitude to survivors is a common trend.
The reality with a lot of these scandals is that where authorities, whether it be social services, the police, other people, have been informed, they've also been involved in some way or another, even if it's simply turning a blind eye to the abuse that's been going on their watch. And I think a lot of that is down to local connections. It's down to a lot of people potentially having too much to lose if the truth comes out.
We can't name him for legal reasons, so we're referring to him as Mr. X. But one of Michael's main abusers is thought to have been a senior childcare officer at Nottingham Council in the 1960s.
Although there's been denials about him, the local crime commissioner, Paddy Tipping, when interviewed by the police recently, he actually identified as being the regional director for both the city and the county council's social services.
A Freedom of Information request was put into both the city and county councils by Michael to determine whether Mr. X did work for them at the time. The City Council said they no longer have files relating to staff from before 1974, while the County Council told Michael they would neither confirm nor deny which position Mr X held, if any, adding that their decision was in the public interest and that they wouldn't let him appeal it. And the County Council said that all of Michael's files have been lost, confirming to RT in a statement,
"We previously explained to Mr Summers that we had been unable to locate any of his files. The information we have is that his childcare file was destroyed in 1978, and we apologised to him at the time for this."
Local police have also been accused of not investigating allegations of abuse at homes like Beechwood, but did reply to us saying,
"Nottinghamshire Police is determined to conduct thorough investigations in relation to the allegations made about abuse at a number of children's homes in Nottinghamshire over a number of decades."
The true scale of getting to the bottom of child abuse in the UK remains a daunting task and a politically vital one. There have been repeated allegations of cover-ups at both local and national level going back decades, while the Home Secretary Theresa May herself described the problem of child abuse as running through British society like a stick of Blackpool rock. As a general election looms, MPs from all the main political parties have come out in support of the establishment of a national inquiry. Getting to the bottom of this scandal will be a priority, no matter who gets into number 10 come May. Isa Ali,
You've got the general picture.
We've definitely got the picture. We understand.
But you heard it on the news, right, that City Council denied they employed the man, right? Now that, where they jumped across to the County Council, right, Anthony May, the current Chief Executive, along with me and Mark Salon, we went in when we got the answer that the City Council no records beyond 2004, which is their loophole that they created. We went straight from Roxley House to County Hall. In County Hall, we got Anthony May straight down, and he even wrote out the freedom of information request. He wrote it out himself for me and said, "You get the answer. We'll give you your answer next week." Right? Yeah, I got an answer. They neither admit nor deny. This is the bullshit that we're up against. They believe that it's okay to hide paedophiles, and the bottom line is, right, in doing so, they denied me justice, and if they denied me justice, and a couple of others that I'm actually in dialogue with, how many more people are going to get denied justice, right? Because the ICO that oversee this kind of stuff are allowing them to do it. And with that, I kind of really rest my case.
Denying you exist and then denying you justice, I think is better.
I've proved to you I exist. You heard it, what they told the news. They've told that to ITV Central News. They've told it to BBC East Midlands. They've told it to The Guardian. I don't exist. But so, are you talking to a ghost today, or a figment of your imagination? It's time for action, my friend.
Okay. All right. Well, look. What we'll do is we'll take the information away. We'll have another look at what we can do. I can't make any verbal promises. I mean, I don't expect that you would expect
we expect some form of commitment, because the content of this dialogue is going straight to my MP, it's going straight to the IICSA, and it will be a major topic on social media quite soon.
And that's fine. And that's fine. As I say, you know,
it's the arena in which we work.
And that's what we said. We're here to try and get you the information. If it exists, we'll try and get that to you. If it doesn't exist, we try and get explanations as to why.
I think it's to do a proper thorough job. That's it.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm more than happy to commit and say yes, we'll do that.
Can I just ask a question, please? How far beyond the denial from the agencies mentioned, the council, solicitors, police, and the rest of them? How far beyond them denying it exists can you go with the evidence you've seen today to secure that information? Because it's only a matter of time before this is going to be extremely
national
and criminal.
Yes, it does, but
you say,
only referenced earlier, we're on the periphery of it.
Yeah.
The Data Protection Act is a standalone piece of legislation which in itself isn't going to give you the answers you want. You're looking for the broadest possible consideration to your own situation, going back to your childhood and those of others with your colleagues and fellow survivors. This is but one strand amongst,
Yeah,
you know, I think it's important not to pin everything on whatever the ICO can or can't do, because the ongoing matters you're drawing attention to will not rest with the ICO. So, you know, you've got the police involved, you've got the commissions and inquiries going on. The DPA will limit us severely with regard to the honest outcomes that we can provide to you. We're already talking about the Data Protection Act with regard to other people. Now, automatically, that's not going to be covered. You know, the information held about this deputy fellow in the 60s who's actually committed the abuses that are being alleged aren't going to be covered by data protection that you're seeking here. We're going to be up front and say that we can't touch that stuff.
But surely the information that's being denied, you as an agency, the government, have the clout to secure that more than the individual. And the pressure that puts the individual through these circumstances.
Well, again, we've got to be cautious about overestimating the clout, as you say, to use that word, of the DPA. The DPA is, the onus is principally through the courts as well. I mean, there's a possibility for yourselves to follow your own action through that. As a regulator, where the Data Protection Act puts our obligations on those that hold the information. We're not an agency that acts as an advocate on your behalf.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But the regulations that obviously that should be following, it's obviously evident they're not being followed.
Okay.
Which obviously then that puts, for a better phrase, puts the ball in your court.
Yes, it does. But let's take an example.
You have to come in at that stage.
Let's take an example.
To take that, put that correct, I should say. I mean, if I've got your remit wrong, so, excuse me, if I've got your remit wrong, I mean, it's, you know, if you wouldn't mind explaining that.
No, of course not. But I mean, for instance, if we couldn't compel an agency to create information that doesn't exist. If, for instance, there's a body of evidence presented which says that we think that there is some information that just isn't there anymore. Let's say that there's some entries in the logs going back to the 60s with the Beechwood details that may have been destroyed. Now, we can't say the circumstances evidence suggests that those journeys took place and everything else, so you have to put the blog back together. We can't do that.
Yes, I appreciate that, but there's still outstanding information that is being evidenced here that is not being forthcoming through the channels that they should be doing. Yep. Hence, you know, you guys really, it's definitely where you come in to secure that information.
We can make regulations.
That's what we can.
The regulations you're here to uphold.
Yeah.
They're not being, you know, it's time for you guys now to really make sure that these people are following these regulations.
Well, we can definitely. I mean, again, I know Andrew's trying to explain the limitations of the data protection.
I mean, we don't expect miracles.
And to be honest, Andrew's right to do
where you fit in.
He is right to do that, because
one thing I do
just let me just say this with someone, if you don't mind, because the Information Commissioner's Office, we're not that type of investigatory body like the police, like an inquiry in these particular circumstances.
Yeah.
And you will be better off pursuing that type of investigatory type stuff through the police, through the legal system. Right? Now, I get that you might be having some difficulty with that, but I'm just trying to explain we are the alternative, because we're just not that type of investigation.
Without being rude to you,
we do not see you as an alternative, we just see you as having to fulfil your remit when the regulations regarding information, hence which can't be more evidence than it is there, which obviously is criminal anyway, which is aside from you folk, but you know, these regulations not being followed, I mean, what does the RCO do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We will try and ensure that you get any information that's held by those organisations that you're entitled to.
Is all we can ask for, I do.
And that's what I'm saying. That is what we're here to do. You're right.
So if the information's there, it's supposed to be, you will find it.
If the information exists and you're entitled to it, we'll try and get that to you.
Where do you stand if that information is hidden?
Well, again,
being hidden from yourselves?
We already have proof that it's been hidden once, so what are you going to do?
Well, again, we'll look at what we've got and make some decisions.
Is there any time scale?
Obviously, approximately. I mean, it's going to get messy.
Well, I mean, let's say it does get messy, then it would be misleading to suggest it will take a month, because
We'll have to have a look at it.
There's a lot of evidence about the engagement from the council we found in the past. There are a number of different agencies that have considered.
But
how long's a piece of string?
I mean, I'm in the process of actually waiting for the ICSA to call me back. I've had a day and a half up at the Truth Projects already, and the aspects of the cover-up from both the councils and the police, and the ongoing abuse that I've endured, is also going to go into the Truth Project. There's probably about another 2 days of evidence to go in, and this is just going to form a part of it. And at the end of the day, when the public hearings part comes in, I have no doubts whatsoever that your office is going to get called in to give evidence. So,
we're a public body. We expect to be,
and that's fine. And again, as I say, that's fine. We're like I say, we're not shirking our responsibility. No. We're here to do what we can do. We're just trying to explain. You're asking the questions about limitations and what we can do, and we want to be realistic as well about how the Data Protection Act works, because that's the law that we regulate. And what you again have gone through and what you're trying to investigate, what you're trying to expose, is far greater than our little area, which is about the information that's held. But I get it's massively important to you. So if we can uncover it, if we can find it and get it to you, then fair enough, we will.
Wonderful.
If we can't, again, just have to be realistic. If we get to the point where, I mean, again, it's back to if information doesn't exist. Andrew's point earlier, which is right, which is that we can't recreate it. If it doesn't exist, if it's not there,
the issue.
then you won't get it, unfortunately. And that's just.
Now, where I've been in the past, with the council concerned, I've been passionate. I've been assertive. I've not been abusive. In fact, video evidence shows that I've never swore at anyone. Because from that point, I lose my integrity from that. But Andy's dealt with me at this office before, and for the record, do you find me to be aggressive, abusive?
No, but I'm not sure what that suits, any more than I would hope I am.
Yeah, and this is about the portrayal of me as one person. When faced with the truth being aimed at Nottingham, right, they can say what they want, but
it's harassment, basically.
At the end of the day, right, I go to everybody that I've actually dealt with along the way, and I treat them accordingly with the same respect. I may raise my voice, I may get passionate, but the one thing I don't do is abuse people. I've had some very respectful dialogue with Andy before we had the last meeting, and I have to say, for the record, as soon as I phoned Andy the other week, we got today's meeting underway a lot expeditiously than what I anticipated. For that, I express my gratitude.
Well, I'm delighted that the least we can do is listen to you and take forward the concerns that we have. So I understand the point you're making about the council and the potential sort of harassment and allegations around that. We're neutral in that regard. We take what we can, and I hesitate to use the word emotion. We need to take that out of it in terms of what the consideration we bring to these matters. We have to be in that centre ground to be able to take account of the position you're making clear, the evidence that we have forward here, in order to make those inquiries.
Independent is the way you have to stand, is that what?
Precisely. Yeah. We are neutral in this. We're not. Be clear from the outset. We're not on the side of. Totally. We're not, but that's, and I don't want to get the wrong idea here, we're not on your side either. We're on the side of the Act. Now, if the evidence suggests we need to make further inquiries in particular areas, it talks about how far we go for hidden information, it depends on the evidence that there is. Now, if there's just a simple, unfounded allegation, there's not much we can do with that.
Totally agree.
Is your only power to phone the establishments and ask? Is that your only power?
No, we've got other tools at our disposal to ask for information to be provided to us.
Okay.
I've got that somewhere. I can find you that.
Well, I think that just about concludes us really, because I mean, I'm happy to let you read the CPS file if you want, but we do prove that Alan Smith does exist. He's a 91-year-old man of no previous convictions because he's never been caught and convicted. I say the man's a rapist, and that the City Council and the County Council and Nottinghamshire Police are colluded in a cover-up. And all I need you guys to do is whatever you can to help me bring it to the IICSA. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. No
Thank you. Well, thanks for taking the time to come over.
You got my original document?
Yeah, take it.